All right, welcome back. I'm Stephanie. We are going through our getting started with gardening. Today I'm going to talk about seeds. And I say today, but literally I'm like shooting this video in like 4 or 5 different parts. So I will probably just upload these all at the same time. I just wanted them to be bite-sized. Right now we're going to talk about seeds. So you've decided you're going to start gardening. We've decided it's best to start small. So now we're going to talk about, and we went over what type of soil you want to use. Let's talk about the seeds. I've had several people ask me, where do I buy seeds? And I think it's funny because I used to think that the seeds that I would buy at like Walmart or a home improvement store like Lowe's or Home Depot or anything like that, I'm like, those aren't great seeds. Those aren't good seeds. And I'm telling you right now, I have seeds here that I'm actually germinating in little greenhouses. And I have seeds that I bought at Walmart 6 years ago that I stored not so great, but they just happened to be, I just bought them, tossed them in, and I didn't really do anything with them. They are germinating better than the seeds that came from like an organic farmer. I'm just telling you. I'm not even going to say where those other seeds came from. They were a gift, so I'm not mad about whether they were perfect or not. But seeds, they want to grow. They want to grow. That's their main purpose in life, is to grow and create more seeds so that they can continue the life cycle. So that's what seeds want to do. If they're stored properly, they will keep for a long time, but you got to keep them well. You got to keep them properly. That's something we can come to in another video, if people even want that. So I've been asked, where do we get seeds? I've bought seeds from Walmart. I have bought seeds from Rural King. I have a lot of seeds from Rural King because they had a big sale not too long ago. 10 for 10. 10 packets for $10. That's $1 a packet. Why would I not buy as much as I could, right? So that's the place that I would buy. I bought Rural King. I've bought at Lowe's. Lowe's sells, they have burpee seeds, which I like burpee seeds that have great germination rates with them. You can buy heirlooms with burpee. You can buy hybrids with burpee. So I like burpee. So, and that's B-U-R-P-E-E, burpee. I've bought from Baker Creek, Hudson Valley, Seed Savers Exchange. I'm pretty sure I've gotten from some other places too, like Johnny Seeds, places like that. I know people are worried about buying GMO seeds. I don't know who that was. They're out riding a bicycle. I know people who are worried about buying genetically modified seeds. Basically, in my research and what I've learned is that those aren't even available to you and I, just regular old people. Those are things that farmers have access to. We can't just go and purchase them. So anytime you're buying seeds at the store and it says non-GMO, it's most likely just a branding thing, and any seed you buy technically can't be genetically modified in the way we think about GMOs. That makes sense. Anyhow, I've bought organic seeds and I have bought seeds that have no organic labeling. Personally, I don't have a problem buying seeds that are non-organic. I have a philosophy of, if I need food, that's what I'm gonna buy. And I can't afford something else, I'm gonna buy the seeds that are there. I can hear that cat. Can you hear that cat? His name's Sid. He's a loud guy. So I buy what interests me, what I think I can germinate, and that's how I do it. So a couple things that we can talk about when it comes to seeds is seeds germinate differently. They all want different types of conditions to germinate in. Peppers like things warm. They like a warm area to be able to germinate. Sometimes people who are just wanting to germinate seeds, pepper seeds in general, they'll take them. They'll use, you can use a seed starting tray, or you can germinate seeds in a cup with some potting soil. They'll take them and they'll set them on top of their refrigerator because it's warm up there. You don't need fancy heat mats. You don't need heat mats. You don't need fancy lights. You do want, when you germinate seeds and once they start to pop up a little bit, you do want to have consistent light, because your seedlings will get real leggy trying to find, because what they want to do is once they break the surface, this hasn't quite broken the surface yet, I can see it, but it has not quite broken the surface. I know it's Sid. Hi Sid, you're so loud. Once they break the surface, they're going to want to look for that light. And if they don't have a consistent light over them, they will move and bend and grow towards a light. And sometimes that can create leggy, spindly seedlings. Okay, so sorry about that. So you do want consistent light. You don't need to go and buy fancy grow lights. There are certain like LED lights that you can purchase. You have to have a certain type of Kelvin. I believe it's 5,000 or more Kelvin, which the Kelvin is just telling you the whiteness of the light. And so you want something that's more on the daylight spectrum and not the soft white. And shop lights are a cheap and easy way to go about getting grow lights. I personally did not do that because I don't have a setup for it, but that's in the works. But yeah, you don't need to spend a ton of money on grow lights. You don't need to do all of that. And really, honestly, last year when I started seeds, I didn't have grow lights. I had seed starting trays with a humidity dome, okay? But I did not have grow lights. So if you don't have grow lights, that's perfectly fine and perfectly acceptable. You just need to watch your seedlings and make sure they're in a consistently well lit area. And I think what I ended up doing was I ended up turning my things a little bit, and it kind of evened things out. I did have a little bit legginess with some things, but in the end it all worked out, especially with tomatoes. They're very forgiving. I also am suggesting to a lot of people, grow what you love. If you don't like tomatoes, don't grow tomatoes. If you love tomatoes, but you can buy a tomato very cheaply at the store, grow something that you can't buy at the store. So this year, that is like my main goal, is I am growing things I can't go into the grocery store and buy. I can't buy a Paul Robeson tomato. I can't buy a Dr. Witchy's. I can't buy fish peppers. I can't buy mocha swirl peppers. Like, I want to grow things that I cannot go and buy at the store. And I want to grow them in a beautiful way. So whether that happens or not is a whole nother story. But I am growing things right now that I cannot go over to Food Line or Kroger and purchase, because growers don't grow those things because they're not, it doesn't make sense for them to grow them. Now I am growing bell peppers and I'm growing a ton of bell peppers because we use bell peppers on a huge consistent basis. And so I'm growing something that I am going to put up over the summer, so I have it throughout the winter, and that I'm not running to the store when I need peppers. I can pull them out of the freezer and cook them up when I'm cooking. So I love peppers in like omelets and egg casseroles that we make. We make it's not even a casserole. I don't know why I call it a casserole, but we make a thing called mountain breakfast that was a big deal when I was growing up, that we cooked over the fire when we went camping in the mountains. And so I make it at home on a fairly consistent basis now. And it has peppers and onions in it. So my goal is to grow the peppers and onions so I can cut them and freeze them so I can pull them out to cook with during the winter. So that is my one thing that I suggest when it comes to growing things, is growing what you love. When you are growing tomatoes in a container, you want to make sure that you are either buying started plants or seeds that are of a determinate variety. Tomatoes come in two different varieties. They come in indeterminate and determinate. Indeterminate means that it will grow and put off an unknown amount of flowers and fruit. A determinate variety is something that has been bred that it will grow to a certain height. That is all the higher it will go. It has a certain amount of flowers that it'll put off and a certain amount of fruit that it'll put off. So, and what I mean by flowers, that's fruit, because when you get a flower, that turns into fruit, a tomato. Eventually, that's where a tomato will come. So, I am personally growing a ton of Baby Boomer hybrid tomatoes that I got from Burpee. They are a determinate bush variety that have been bred to give off 300 fruits. Now, that does not mean that I will get 300 fruits. And Lord help us if I get 300, because I have a lot of Baby Boomer hybrid tomato plants. But it is specifically bred to only have a certain amount of fruit and go to a certain height. So, so anyhow, what I was saying is, you want to make sure that whenever you are buying seeds, when it comes to container gardening for tomatoes, you buy a determinate variety. Now, let's say you accidentally bought indeterminate tomatoes. You bought just beefsteak and cherry tomatoes. You can grow those. You have to be very diligent in how you're pruning. I personally, that is what I grew last year, because that is what I had. I had beefsteak tomatoes and I had just cherry tomatoes, and I wanted both of them, and I did not have a garden in the yard to be able to grow stuff. So I had my bucket garden that I showed you in one of the earlier videos. And I just determined that that was what I was going to do, because I wasn't going to go and buy more seeds at that point in time. I didn't know if I would be able to find what I needed, so I just grew what I had. So, and it worked out fine. I was not as diligent about pruning things the way I should have been with certain aspects of my tomatoes. I did eventually stick some of my extra plants in this particular green stalk, and I mean, it looked amazing. That green stalk was so beautiful at one point in time, but it was really hard to grow indeterminate tomatoes in there and stake them and do stuff. I think it's totally doable, but I was already maxed out at my brain level, so that green stalk kind of went out of control and I didn't do so great with it. I did get peppers from there. I did a couple color bells. I have like a color bell mixed variety. So whatever seed I stuck in, it came out. I didn't know if I was getting green or red or purple, peppers. But we did get some purple peppers, which were really awesome and pretty, and they looked like eggplants when they were growing, but they tasted great. They were really cool. So peppers do really, really well in containers, and I would grow what you like to eat when it comes to peppers, if that's what you're wanting. Cucumbers, on the other hand, you can find varieties of cucumbers that are specifically bred for containers. Burpee, I think it is Burpee, has a Space Master cucumber, and they are specifically bred for growing in a container in a small space. You can vine them, and I had it vining on the back of our deck back here. It did all right. Cucumbers desire lots of water. They need a lot of watering, and if you're not consistent in watering, they will not do well. You also need to be paying attention to how they flower, and you may need to help them pollinate each other, which is something that I'm learning, and I'm more than willing to show y'all whenever it gets time to start growing cucumbers. This year I'm actually going to be doing a combination of lots of different types of gardening. I'm doing my green stalks, I have my bucket garden going, and I've got a no-dig garden in the front and at the side over here. So I'm going to be doing in-ground gardening, container gardening. I'm doing flowers this year, which I've never started flowers from seed except for a couple like toss of some wildflowers. So that's exciting. But that is definitely something that you want to think about when you're thinking about growing cucumbers. Is this going to be okay for a container? And you need to make sure you're consistently watering. And that's true of anything in a container, because containers dry out faster. They don't hold moisture. You don't want them to hold moisture like the ground does. They are just completely different. So they do take a little bit more consistent thought over than an in-ground garden. In-ground gardens can be very forgiving, but they also can be extremely a lot of work because you have to battle the weeds and things. They also have worms, which are wonderful for fertilizing, which is a whole nother story. But you can do squash, you can do zucchini in a container. It's not easy, but it can happen. You can do it as long as you're, consistent. I'm trying to think what else we grew in containers. We did bunching onions, of course, lettuce. So if you like lettuce, lettuce is more of a cool weather crop. So whenever you start in a place like the South and it gets really hot, they will bolt, and it will change the texture and taste, or not necessarily the texture, but the taste of your lettuces. They'll get better whenever it gets too hot. So those are the things that you want to think about. So seeds, you can get them anywhere. If you want specific heirlooms, a lot of times I just look online and order. And a lot of times those are just like, they're not big conglomerates. Burpee is a bigger thing, but Baker Creek and Hudson Valley and M.I. Gardner, Seed Savers Exchange, those are all people that are working to support a small family or others. It's a wonderful gardening community is a wonderful place, and so I want to help other people as well. I hope this was helpful. I feel like it may have been a little bit rambly. I'm really sorry. But if you have any questions, please ask them down below, message me, whatever. Again, I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm just telling you what I know, and I'm telling you what has worked for me and what hasn't worked for me. So I hope that this was helpful, and I hope you go out and you buy your seeds, if you haven't already, and grow something beautiful and grow something delicious.